A typical Friday afternoon at school turned into a nightmare that none of us could have ever prepared for. It was supposed to be a day of freedom until the terrifying voice from the loudspeaker changed everything. We thought it was a drill, but what we heard next would haunt us forever. The classroom is buzzing with excitement, students laughing and calling out answers during a light-hearted game. Mr. Sullivan, our laid-back teacher, joins in. The energy is palpable, with everyone counting down the seconds to freedom. Then, suddenly, the loudspeaker crackles to life, cutting through the laughter with a voice that seems wrong, panicked, shaky, not the usual monotone of school announcements. The words, "Attention, all staff and students. This is not a drill. Lockdown immediately. I repeat, this is not a drill." The room freezes. My heart slams in my chest as Mr. Sullivan's face twists into an expression I've never seen before. Fear. His calm demeanor is replaced by rapid, frantic movements. "Get to the back of the room, now. Lock the door. No noise," he whispers harshly. The lights flicker off, plunging us into darkness, the typical Friday afternoon. The kind of day where the school feels like it's dragging on, where every tick of the clock feels louder than the last. And all you can think about is the freedom waiting at the end of the day. It was the last class before spring break. The air was filled with the anticipation of getting out of the building, of leaving the structured walls of the classroom for the first taste of freedom that awaited us. I remember the moment so clearly. The classroom was alive with energy, students barely containing their excitement for the end of the week. We had just finished a particularly grueling section of calculus, but no one seemed to care anymore. The promise of the weekend was too close to ignore. The teacher, Mr. Sullivan, was just as laid back as the rest of us. He wasn't one to follow the usual rigid schedule set by the school. If it was a Friday, and no one was too far behind on their work, he usually let us have some time for ourselves, allowing us to wind down before the weekend. Today was no different. He decided to let us play a game on his computer, a logo quiz. Simple, but fun. It was the kind of thing that made the day go by in a blur. Everyone started calling out answers. McDonald's, Nike, Starbucks. The class was laughing, chatting, and enjoying each other's company. It felt like any other normal day at school. Safe, comfortable. But then, in an instant, everything changed. The loudspeaker system crackled, an eerie sound that immediately caught my attention. It was a voice I didn't recognize, shaky and full of panic, something I had never heard in a school setting before. "Attention, all staff and students. This is not a drill. Lockdown, immediately. I repeat, this is not a drill." The words sent a shiver down my spine. My body froze, and for a moment, the world seemed to slow down. It took me a few seconds to process what I had just heard. My mind tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe it was some sort of test, some sort of scheduled drill. But as soon as Mr. Sullivan's face twisted into a look of sheer panic, I knew this was no ordinary drill. He bolted from his desk, moving quickly but calmly, his voice just above a whisper as he said, "Everyone, get to the back of the room. Lock the door, turn off all your phones and stay silent." His actions were quick and deliberate, but I could see the tension in his movements. His hands shook slightly as he locked the door, and for the first time, I noticed the nervousness in his usually confident eyes. He moved swiftly to turn off the lights, and in the instant that the room plunged into darkness, the real sense of fear began to set in. I was trying to make sense of everything, trying to convince myself that it was just another drill, but the weight of the silence in the room was deafening. Everyone was quiet, huddled together in the corner, but the fear was palpable. My heart pounded in my chest. I could hear the shallow breathing of the others around me. The only sound besides that was the soft hum of the air conditioning, which felt out of place in the tense atmosphere. Minutes passed, or at least I thought they did. Time seemed to stand still as we sat in the darkened corner of the room, waiting for something, anything, to happen. My mind raced through 1,000 thoughts at once. Was this a threat? A drill gone wrong? Was someone hurt? The questions buzzed in my mind, but no answers came. And then I heard it. It was faint at first, barely a whisper, but then it grew louder, more frantic, like a voice carried by the wind. It was the unmistakable sound of a man yelling. His words were slurred, full of rage. It sounded like someone was losing control, and the fear in his voice made my stomach churn.
The intruder has left the building.
I'll kill all of you. The words echoed down the hallway. The man was getting closer, his voice now growing clearer, more desperate. At first, no one moved. No one made a sound, except for a few girls who started to sob quietly in the corner. Their fear, so raw and real, only added to the growing tension in the room. I could feel my own fear creeping in, twisting my insides, as my mind raced to understand what was happening. The man's screams grew louder and louder, and we could hear the unmistakable sound of fists pounding against the lockers in the hallway. The noise was deafening. His aggression was palpable, and it sent shockwaves of fear through every single person in the room. "Open up!" he yelled now, his voice shrill with fury. "Let me in!" My heart hammered against my chest. The banging on the lockers grew louder, closer, until I was sure he was right outside our door. My mind screamed at me to do something, anything, but all I could do was sit there in the darkness, trembling. The silence in the room was suffocating. All I could hear was my own ragged breathing, my heart pounding in my chest. The door rattled. It felt as though my whole world was shaking with each strike. The panic inside me swelled, and I could feel it rising in my throat like a scream, but I couldn't let it out. I was frozen in place. "Open the door!" "I'll kill all of you," the man shouted again. His words were chilling, each syllable dripping with insanity. My teacher motioned for us to stay down, to remain silent. But my mind was too clouded with fear to process anything rationally. I didn't know if I was going to make it out alive. None of us knew. For all we knew, the man could have been standing right outside, his next move unpredictable. Time seemed to stretch on. The room was heavy with the weight of fear, every second dragging out like an eternity. The girls in the corner were crying now, their sobs echoing in the darkness. Some of us, the boys, tried to console them, but it was hard to find comfort when you weren't sure what was going to happen next. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the pounding stopped. The hallway outside grew silent. The only sound was the distant echo of a door slamming somewhere far away. I held my breath, listening. My pulse raced as I tried to convince myself it was over. But the silence felt wrong. It was too still. Minutes passed, or maybe it was hours. I didn't know anymore. My mind was numb, and my body felt frozen in place. The loudspeaker came on again, but this time, the voice sounded different. It was the dean. "Students, the situation has been resolved. The intruder has left the building," he said. But his voice was strained, like he wasn't entirely sure of what had just happened. "Please, remain in your classrooms. Stay in lockdown until further notice." The words barely registered in my mind.
Come on, look at all these lights.
My brain couldn't comprehend what had just happened. It was only when the teacher finally unlocked the door and let us out that the reality of it all hit
Help
me.
me!
The police arrived soon after,
Please!
and there was an overwhelming sense of relief as we were told we were safe.
Don't open!
But that relief was short-lived.
Please, push harder.
We found out later that the intruder had been hiding in the school for a while, waiting for the right moment to strike. He had been mentally unstable, and when the authorities found him, he was carrying a weapon, a gun. The worst part of it all, though, was the feeling of vulnerability that lingered. The school, the place that had always felt safe to me, had been violated. The threat had come from within, from someone who had no clear reason for what they did. And just like that, everything I had thought I knew about safety, about what could and couldn't happen, had been shattered. To this day, I don't know if that man was ever found. I don't know if he was captured or if he's still out there. All I know is that the fear I felt that day never really went away. It lingers in the back of my mind every time I walk through the doors of a school, every time I hear a loud noise, or every time I feel the familiar hum of a classroom. It's a fear that stays with you, a fear that doesn't fade, no matter how much time passes. And it reminds me of one thing: no place is truly safe.
Stuck! Help me!
Not anymore.
Push harder!
Not after you've lived through something like this. After what felt like hours of suffocating silence, the pounding stops. The air is thick with fear. Then, the voice of the dean crackles through the loudspeaker again. This time, it sounds exhausted, strained. Students, the situation has been resolved. The intruder has left the building. Please remain in your classrooms. Stay in lockdown until further notice. But the silence that follows feels wrong. Too still. Minutes pass before the door creaks open. Mr. Sullivan cautiously steps into the hallway, motioning for us to follow. We walk out into a world that now feels unfamiliar. The police swarm the school, and relief floods over us. But that relief is short-lived when we hear the truth. The intruder had been inside the school for hours, hiding in plain sight. He had a weapon. That afternoon, the place we called safe was forever shattered. As I walk through those same doors now, I hear every creak of the floor, every door that slams shut, every hum of the air conditioning. Those sounds I once took for granted now feel like reminders of the fear that lingers, the fear that stays with you. No place is truly safe anymore. Not after you've lived through something like this. Well, that was a chilling story, wasn't it? The kind of thing that stays with you long after the lights go out. If you felt that cold rush down your spine, you're not alone. But here's the thing. This might just be the beginning. What if there's more to this story? More secrets that are yet to be uncovered? Before we wrap up, I want to know, what do you think happened next? Do you think the real horror is still out there, waiting for someone else to stumble upon it? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Or better yet, share any terrifying experiences you've had. If you want to keep your nights filled with the kind of terror that keeps you awake, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, stay safe. And remember, what lurks in the shadows might be closer than you think.